Today, the 1st of March 2026, I complete 75 years of my earthly existence. Looking at the lifespan of an individual from a biblical point of view, I'm entering the last 5-year period of my life. Because the psalmist says that the life of a man is 70, and if for reasons of bodily strength it stretches to 80, the additional years will all be full of pain, struggle, and sorrow. So, from a arithmetical point of view, I have about 5 years more left. But that's not my concern. It's not how many years I live that matters to me, but how well I live each day. On this day, as I look back, which I rarely do, to the 75 years of life behind me, honest to God, I can tell you that my heart overflows with gratitude. Gratitude to a whole host of people, beginning with my parents, particularly my mother, my siblings. God gave me 3 adorable sisters. Though in privation and economic difficulties, we shared a beautiful childhood. Struggle and suffering welded our relationships firmly together, and we still cherish each other as the greatest wealth in our life. I'm grateful to my little family. I'm grateful to the wider family comprising thousands of people whom I've had the very special joy of being with. Thousands of them lending their ear to what I had to say. And looking back, I have to be honest with you that much of what I said was shallow, irrelevant to the human condition, but a sense of being loved and appreciated by people meant a lot to me, and therefore I went on and on and on until a time came in my life when I began to ask myself as to what exactly is the worth of what I'm doing, how relevant my efforts and enterprises are, and whether or not what I am preaching to the people in the name of God is really godly, or I'm only feeding a system that has come to exist for itself. This particular line of thought bred in me a large degree of cynicism about preaching, particularly preaching in conventions, also preaching from church pulpits. Therefore, about 7 years ago, I took a very deliberate, recent decision to refrain from speaking and preaching. I have stayed true and faithful to that decision. And I have to tell you in all honesty that I'm proud of that decision. I think I did the right thing in deciding not to add to the noise pollution that already exists. Much of what happens under the banner of religious proclamation, the proclamation of the gospel, etc., in the final analysis is nothing but noise pollution. So I'm glad that God gave me the serenity to decide to pull out of that system and to invest all my time and energy into deepening myself through reading, reflection, then sharing with people the new thoughts that come daily to me. And I believe these insights are entrusted with me in order to be passed on to people. Therefore, I'm not the originator of any of these insights and ideas. I'm meant to serve a particular purpose, and the blessedness in my life comprises entirely in serving that purpose faithfully, which I believe I'm doing now, and I propose to do that to my last breath. Now, on this day, as I also look ahead and become aware of the millions and millions of people all over the world who enter superannuation or retired life, and realizing also that a vast majority of them feel traumatized at the prospect of having to retire from active service. There are two things that I would like to tell them, and that's the only thing I want to do through this video. These are the two things that I have found through my personal experience of immense practical value, and I submit them to you in the hope that they will add some value to your life as well. The two principles, the two concerns, the two guiding lights that have enabled me to stay vital, active, creative are as follows. First of all, take care of yourself. Add value daily to your personality. And when you become a retired person and therefore practically disengaged from the business of the world, you will realize that the vast issue of insincerity, illusion, and delusion that comprised your active life, when many people milled around you, not because they loved you or cared for you or valued you, but for what they thought they could get out of you, all that issue of hypocrisy and play acting will stop. And you are left alone with yourself. It's possible to look at this as a kind of tragedy or a loss. In my experience, it's exactly the opposite. This enabled me to confront the reality of my life and realize the truth, which is a spiritual truth, the truth that Jesus Christ articulated so well and adequately, that the only wealth that matters in the end is the wealth within you. And there is no limit to which you can gain that sort of wealth, and that wealth will endure. So I have invested much of my time in the last 10 years of my so-called retired life into reading, reflection, and deepening my personality. And I can testify with immense and overflowing gladness and confidence that this has worked immensely well for me. I feel very happy about what I have come to be. So that there is absolutely no margin for pitying oneself in the life of retirement. The vitality, the health and wholeness of one's inner life is the greatest wealth a human being can have. And fortunately, that doesn't depend on any system in this world, any institution, any arrangement, or any source of support, validation, acclaim, etc. All these are external to you, and these external props can never be counted to remain the same forever. The world outside you will continually change because that is the law of nature, the law of life. And trying to establish your self-worth on shifting foundations is a suicidal folly. You have to find the point of stability and coherence within yourself. And that's what I've been trying to do in the last 10 years. And I can claim with my hand on heart that I have succeeded in that to a very, very satisfying degree. So that's the first thing I would say. Enrich yourself. Take care of your inner life. Stay vitally active. Especially, do not become a mental vegetable. The beauty, the worth, and the charismatic part of your personality will not only remain intact, but also increase. And that may not be a matter of certification by individuals or institutions external to you. It's an inner assurance which alone matters in the end. The second principle that I would recommend to all in my category is do not slip into the mindset of receiving, getting, obtaining. Continue in the mindset of giving and deriving delight from giving. I can't tell you how important this principle is. When you develop an attitude, and this happens in the case of most people after retirement, till the time of retirement or for as long as a person is in active service and therefore is an earning member of a household or society, people will mind them, value them, respect them, heed them, take note of their presence because they want to get something out of you. And even as you provide for their needs, you also expect something in return. Maybe recognition, maybe gratitude, maybe respect, maybe a sense of your worth being acknowledged by others, maybe care, or anything else. What I have learned, and I attach immense significance to this insight. Post-retirement, a person is likely to fall into the mindset or shift from the mindset of giving to receiving. Receive attention, receive service, receive help, receive recognition, receive a well-defined place, even within one's own household. I think this is where most people go wrong. We must continue in the mindset of giving. And when you do that, you will realize that the greatest thing you can do, and perhaps the profoundest thing that you can even think of, is the need to grow, develop, and enrich yourself continually without limit. Because there are many things that a person can continue to give. It's a terrible mistake that our society thinks of giving mostly in terms of money and material things. But life has taught me that there are far more valuable things. For example, if you take care of your personality, enrich yourself continually, you will become, without anybody's charity, you will become a valuable and valued presence wherever you are. And nobody can ignore you. Nobody can think of you as a liability, even in your deathbed. So, the commitment to staying in a state of deriving delight out of giving rather than getting is the secret of happy retired life. Now, when you, on the other hand, imagine your situation in terms of the obligations and the duties other people have towards you, you are bound to be, no matter who you are, you are bound to be serially disappointed. And your life will be one of incremental resentment because your expectations are not going to be fulfilled according to your scale and self-assessment. It can never happen, no matter who you are. You could be the most powerful person in the world, you could be the richest man in the world, but your expectations, so long as you cast yourself in the mold of receiving from others, your expectations are bound to be disappointed and you are sure to sink deeper and deeper into resentment and frustration. The beauty of your personality comprises entirely in the vitality of continually giving. But in order to give, you must have. Not wealth, not material gifts, but something far more valuable. Your intellectual and your spiritual resources. Believe you me, that's what the people need. That's what the world is looking for. Who are the people most unforgettable in human history? They're not great economists. They're not even great scientists. They're not great conquerors. Alexander the Great, Charlemagne, Napoleon, etc. Yeah, they exist on the pages of history. But the individuals who are deemed most indispensable by human beings around the world without distinctions of caste, creed, color, culture, or nationality as people who develop spiritual and intellectual resources for humankind. And that is something that anyone and everyone can develop. You don't have to be a prophet, you don't have to be a saint, you don't have to be a manifestation of Paramatma in a kind of direct supernatural way. You only have to be a simple human being who believes in your worth and who also recognizes before God your most sacred duty, not only to preserve your birth, but also to enhance it continually, according to the opportunities, the graces and gifts the Creator gives you. And he or she is faithful enough to provide these opportunities continually, and these divine sources never dry up. These are the only two things that is my will and testament to humanity that I can offer to my fellow human beings. If you follow these two principles, you will never become redundant. After all, everyone knows that the pain in superannuation, the pain in retired life is the pain of redundancy, the pain of recognizing that one has become suddenly quite irrelevant. I do not have that feeling one bit. In fact, my testimony to everyone is that each stage of our life has its own beauties, its own opportunities, and its own modes of fulfillment. Your condition at 20 will not be your condition at 75. And I should be a fool to insist that I should be exactly that kind of person that I was 50 years ago. I'm different. But in my present state also, there are beauties, there are riches, there are excitements, there are moments of fulfillment that are in no way inferior to what I experienced, what would otherwise be considered the best part of one's life. This is, as far as I'm concerned, truly, honestly, one of the best phases in my life. I do not know how long I will live, but one thing I know, I've entered the last 10 years of my life. Of these 10 years, how many I'll complete, I don't know, and I don't care either. But the fact that the termination of my earthly pilgrimage is now more or less fixed, and I can see it ahead of me, it fills me with greater excitement, greater keenness to use every moment of my life in the most meaningful fashion possible. And my present state of life, in my present line of thinking, it's fairly clear to me that the most precious and valuable way in which I can invest the rest of my life is by being a witness to truth. Because I believe absolutely in the historical meaning and power of the words of Jesus when he said, "Truth and truth alone will set you free." How can I not believe in it when I live in India, where India's freedom was secured with the power of truth? Gandhi, who saw himself as an instrument chosen by God to lead the people of India to freedom, used the power of truth, the power of ahimsa, as the foremost energy to deliver a people from their pathetic state of slavery to the most exhilarating state of freedom. Whether or not we are proving responsible, mature custodians of this incalculable heritage is a different question. But one thing is absolutely certain. The story of India's freedom is the greatest illustration of the principle that Jesus enunciated and proclaimed with absolute spiritual authority. The truth alone is the liberating principle. Therefore, my sense of loving my fellow human beings urges me to remain a witness to the truth, with the caveat, with the corollary, that I have only that right to bear witness to the truth, which is conferred on me by surrendering myself to the truth that I propose to witness. And therefore, I earnestly pray to God to give me that power of truth. Truth not as a distant academic proposition, but truth as a lived reality. Truth as the very oxygen of my life. So that on the foundation of the authenticity of lived realities, I would be able to bear witness and continue to bear witness to my last breath to the power of truth, the liberating power of truth. Satyameva Jayate Jnanavritam. That's the final proclamation of a 75-year-old man. Satyameva Jayate Jnanavritam. Thank you. God bless India. God bless my home state, Kerala. God bless my brothers and sisters everywhere in the world, because I have a very clear sense of belonging to humanity, which is the reason why I find it very difficult to articulate or harbor partisan loyalties, which is the main reason why I decided to get out of the church parochial networks. All of them insist that you keep your heart so narrow that there won't be any place, any foothold for anyone in your life other than those who parrot the same words, those who air the same sentiments, and those who insist that grass is green only under their feet. I consider this to be a slur on humanity. I consider this to be an attitude that pollutes and corrupts the serene integrity of my personality. And I believe that in this state, a person abjures or renounces the freedom to know and proclaim the truth. Truth is what matters to me. And truth is what I propose to pursue for the rest of my life. And this is the only birthday gift that I'm going to give to myself. The freedom, the courage to follow the truth. God bless you. Jai Hind.